first said we don't want to war, but now does. The North Koreans are threatening to scrap the now 60-year-old ceasefire that suspended the fighting in the Korean War, which, as you know, is not over. And North Korea is warning of unspecified surgical strikes. That from the regime's state-run media, quoting a military spokesman. No peace treaty ever officially ended the Korean War. 28,000 U.S. troops are stationed just across the demilitarized zone in South Korea to help protect our ally South Korea should Pyongyang do something weird. North Korea's latest talk comes amid a new international push to slap it with further economic punishments after its third nuclear test last month. It's also upset about joint American and South Korean military exercises on the peninsula that began days ago and will continue into the future. And all of this just days after the former NBA star Dennis Rodman hung out with Kim Jong-un and claimed Kim's an awesome kid who says he does not want to war. Rodman was there for a basketball camp. But there's one more just after. And for that, we turn to the Fox Reports chief correspondent, Jonathan Hunt, who's live at the United Nations. It looks like basketball diplomacy works about as well as sanctions. Now the United Nations is hammering out a draft resolution to deal with North Korea. What does it say?
Well, according to the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, this draft resolution would impose some of the toughest financial punishments ever handed down by the United Nations. Listen.
For the first time ever, this resolution targets the illicit activities of North Korean diplomatic personnel, North Korean banking relationships, illicit transfers of bulk cash, and new travel restrictions.
Now, what this draft resolution says implicitly rather than explicitly is that North Korean officials are taking advantage of diplomatic immunity to smuggle in and out of the country both nuclear technology and large amounts of cash. And the clear aim of this resolution, Shep, is to put an end to that kind of illegal, under international law, activity.
What about this threat to cancel the ceasefire with the South Koreans?
That threat got a pretty sharp and short response from the White House earlier today. Listen.
Well, the DPRK will achieve nothing by threats or provocations, which will only further isolate North Korea and undermine international efforts to ensure peace and stability in Northeast Asia. We have urged the North Korean leadership to heed President Obama's call to choose the path of peace and come into compliance with its international obligations.
Now, the Security Council meeting here at the United Nations has wrapped up for today. That draft resolution still being considered, but a vote is expected on it, Shep, before the end of the week. And what is very important to note here is that China seems to be on board with this resolution. That is an important step forward. And as far as we understand, Shep, not one single member state is asking for a debriefing from Dennis Rodman before that vote. Shep?
Oh, that's coming. Jonathan Hunt at the United Nations, thanks. Gordon Chang's here now, author of Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. China's all for it. That's no good. That's no good unless China will enforce it.
Absolutely. You know, China's voted in favor of sanctions in North Korea and then just turned around and ignored them. In your file footage, which you just showed, there were mobile missile launchers. North Korea got them because China sold them. A clear violation of Security Council resolutions. And, the United States did nothing about that.
We talk about the North Koreans are upset because we added sanctions after their nuclear test. We talk about the North Koreans are upset because we're doing joint military exercises with South Korea. But history says there's more to this.
Yes. History says that the North Koreans will commit a provocation within months after the inauguration of a South Korean president to test the resolve of the new leader. Well, Park Geun-hye was inaugurated 8 days ago. So that's maybe the North Koreans might follow through on their threats, because that's what history says.
Do we have reason to worry that this new guy, Kim the Younger, Rodman's best friend, is going to do anything weird?
Yeah, he could easily do something weird because he hasn't consolidated control in Pyongyang. The generals are still running free, and, he can't really control them, so, who knows what's going to happen. In these types of situations, when a regime is in disarray, the hardest line sets the tone.
The hardest line sets the tone. Gordon Chang, it's always good of you. Thank you.
Thank you.